Is Nugget your favorite food delivery system?
No.
What is?
Dough Pocket.
Dough Pocket, yeah. Samosa, pierogi, mandu, gyoza.
Flatbread,
Well, it's not a pocket.
I guess. No,
It's
but
more
I
of
mean
a
like
flatbread.
no, that's like another delivery method that
Sure.
I'm a fan of.
What's your favorite nugget? Chicken?
Yeah, I think so.
That's my third favorite.
What's your first and second?
Weed and gold.
Well, I mean, if gold nuggets are on the table, I thought it was edible nugget.
You could if you tried hard enough. Gold's inert, right? You can eat it?
I don't think you should.
No, you probably shouldn't.
I don't think your digestive system is built for like heavy metals.
Well, you know, we're not a medical show, so I'm going to say, you know what? Everyone out there, go out, eat some gold.
Don't eat some gold.
Eat it. What's going to happen?
No.
Oh, no. They can't sue me if they eat gold and get sick, right?
No, I think they can.
Let's just gloss over this whole thing.
Okay.
And start an episode.
Great. Hi.
Hi. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of I Love This, You Should Too. My name is Indy Nugget Randhawa, and with me is Samantha Dough Pocket Randhawa.
Sounds like my pockets are full of dough.
Sometimes they are.
No, they're not.
They're full of dough pockets. You're just walking around with pierogies in your pockets.
No, I'm not.
How many pierogies are in that hoodie right now?
0.
Because you just finished them.
No. Because I haven't had pierogies in like a week.
That's not like the flex you think it is. Oh yeah, I haven't had pierogies in 6 days. All right, what are we doing today, Sam?
It is one of our shorter episodes where we will both have a spoiler-free thing of the fortnight, and then Indy will let us know what we're watching for next week.
Yeah, we haven't done this in a while.
No.
Let's see if we still remember how to do it.
I kind of feel rusty. It feels weird. But you go first.
Oh, yeah. My thing of the fortnight is the television series Freaks and Geeks.
Oh, I know this one.
Because we just watched it. Well, I guess it's been a little bit now, but I thought you might like it, so I just put it on, and it was so short that we got through it pretty quick.
Yeah,
but
I was telling my mom about this like on Monday night. I was like, you have to watch it. And neither her or Eric had ever heard of it.
apparently many people have not, because it did not last long. But it was a American teen comedy drama TV series that aired in 1999 to 2000, and it just had the one season. Mm-hmm. It was created by Paul Feig and Judd Apatow, and I'm going to say all these names of people who were involved. And originally I was planning on telling you like, oh, and you would know them from, but it's just so much because everyone who's involved in this show has had a giant career.
Yeah, I was saying, because they were asking me like, oh, who was in it? And I was like, literally everyone. Think of a person, they were probably in it.
So the premise of this show, it takes place in 1980, and it follows mainly 2 characters, Lindsay and Sam Weir. They are siblings, but they are quite different, and they don't have all that many stories where they interact with each other, but rather it's about their 2 friend groups. Sam is a geek, a nerd. He's small. He gets bullied a lot. His friends, very much the same.
Yeah.
And they're hilarious. Lindsay is someone who was more like a studious person. She was very academic, was on the mathletes and everything. And then something changed in her life, like many people when they are in high school. Mm-hmm. And she just wanted something different. She starts dressing differently and making different friends. And those friends are kind of like the freaks of the school, being that they're... one of them's kind of a criminal. They smoke weed. They're like kind of slacker types like that. And a lot of shows do this, or a lot of movies do that as well, when you're like high school cliques and can you be in parts of both worlds?
Yeah.
And how do you like contain multitudes when in high school you're often kind of pigeonholed into one sort of thing? And Lindsay is a good example of someone who defies that, because in so many shows it always happens, and it's usually a little more clunky. I think this show does what a lot of teen dramas and comedies try to do, but I think this does it better than most, because at first it has a very good cast. Lindsay is played by Linda Cardellini, and if you watch the show or listen to this show, you'll know that I'm a very big Linda Cardellini fan. I
She
think
comes
she's
up
fantastic.
a lot.
Yeah. And she's very good in this. John Francis Daly is Sam. It also stars James Franco, Sam Levine, Seth Rogen, Jason Segel,
So like literally everybody.
Martin Starr. Martin Starr is one of my favorites. I always said I want to meet someone whose favorite actor is Martin Starr because I'd be friends with that person.
Yeah.
I don't have the guts to say he's my favorite actor because, you know, Tony Leung exists and Vincent Price.
True.
So, but Martin Starr is great in this, and he looks like, man, he's such a nerd in this.
He's such a nerd. Yeah, there's no hair or makeup needed for that one. He just is a nerd.
Joe Flaherty, who a lot of Canadians will know, is Linda Cardellini's dad. Busy Phillips is in it. And then you get some guest stars, and we're like, wait a minute, was that? Because Rashida Jones is in a few episodes, Shia LaBeouf, Ben Stiller, Leslie Mann, Jason Schwartzman.
Yeah.
There's just so many people. And you'll be like, oh yeah, everyone from every Judd Apatow movie is in this.
Yeah.
Because he always said that it was canceled and it crushed him. So he always tries to bring back those characters in whatever he does, or those actors as well. Mm-hmm. So the show kind of lives on through all of Apatow's work and reusing those same actors.
Yeah, it was always fun when we'd be watching an episode and we'd be like, wait, was that? And then like whoever the guest star was, and then you're like, it was.
And they're also young in this.
Yeah. So some of them were like a little harder to identify. Some of them, like Jason Segel,
looks exactly the same.
He hasn't aged.
Same with Linda. You know, most of the main cast actually looks pretty
They look
similar.
pretty much the same. Yeah. It's crazy.
I know when I put it on for you for the first time, I just said, there's going to be a lot of people you'll recognize. And then just the opening credits, you're like, whoa, look, and oh, this.
Yeah.
Martin Starr looks different.
He does. He was one that we were both like, is that Martin Starr?
Oh, no, this is where I knew Martin Starr
Oh.
from. This is where the first time I was like, oh, this guy's great. So it was canceled after only airing 12 episodes. And you'll say, hey, but there was 18 episodes. They didn't even show those last 6.
What?
Yeah, they're just like, no, get out
They're
of here.
just like on the internet.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's sad.
Yeah, it was really sad. And it's so dumb of why it got canceled because first they kept bouncing it around in time slots, and that's always a bad idea. And then they put it up against Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. And if you remember the year 1999, that was a juggernaut. That's a hard one to go
That
against.
was one that, yeah, you couldn't miss.
And it was still getting like 7 million viewers, which by today's standards is a lot.
It's huge, yeah.
But by those standards, because like Frasier and Friends were on the air and those were getting twice as many.
See, that's a hard time to be like debuting a new show.
And then the network picked up the pilot under one president, and then someone else came in. It was on NBC. And the person who came in was like, I don't get it, because they'd never been to a public school in their life.
Oh.
So that doesn't help.
Relatable.
Yeah. And then they kept saying, like, well, the characters aren't winning at the end. So, like, you should make them win. They should be the best at things. And they also kept saying, like, well, they're not really cool. Can you make them cooler?
That's not the point.
No, that's exactly the opposite of the point. So they tried, and you'll see in the kind of late second half of the season, they get those small victories, and it doesn't seem too forced because the writing is good enough on the show that it seems like it works. But it's, not what it should be. And if you want to watch the show, check out the pilot. I think the pilot is fantastic. It gives you a very good idea of what the show is going to be. And honestly, it's only 18 episodes. You can just breeze right through that.
It was fast.
And what did you think of it? Because you watched it with me.
I was sad. It was one of those ones where I was like sad that there wasn't any more. You get like really attached to these kids, and then you're like, oh, but I want to know what happens. It does help a little bit that these actors have like gone on to do lots of things, so you kind of can like be like, oh yeah, now they're in, I can't even think of a Judd Apatow movie, but like, oh yeah, now they live in this movie.
I was about to say 13 going on 30, but what I meant to say was this is 40?
This is 40, yeah. And so you're like, oh, they still have a life. But yeah, no, it was really nice. It was a very heartwarming show because they were just like real world problems. Mm-hmm. And like, I feel like if you were a teenager and you went to a public school, unlike that president, you'd like have come across either someone having those kinds of problems or having them yourself, I think.
Yeah, and they do a good job of making the problems super big to the kids because everything feels that big when you're a teenager, but also
so serious when you're that age.
But simultaneously kind of showing like, well, it's not that big of a deal. It's very good at the nuance of these things, and nuance isn't something a lot of high school shows get. So it's very good for that. It brings up a lot of tropes that we see in other shows, but they're just more well handled in this. Like someone who, Busy Phillips' character, who's kind of a jerk, and then you meet her parents and you're like, oh, they're jerks, that's where it comes from. But here it just felt so much more earned than like one of those throwaways.
Yeah.
Because we'd watched Bunheads just right before it.
Yeah.
And I really like Bunheads. But a lot of those types of things aren't as well handled on Bunheads as they are on Freaks and Geeks. But go check it out. It's probably quite hard to find now, but ask me if you're a pal of mine, and I'll get you a copy. Go watch Freaks and Geeks. It is 25 years old. Wow. Rough. It is 25 years old, but since it takes place in 1980, it's kind of ageless anyway.
Yeah.
So it's a good one. I forgot how much I liked the show after that rewatch. So
Freaks and Geeks.
Freaks and Geeks. Also in my top 5 Childish Gambino songs, probably.
Oh, I don't know that song.
I was about to start doing it, but I'm like, oh, just a few words in, and I shouldn't be saying that.
There are words we can't sing along to.
All right, Sam, what is your thing of the fortnight?
My thing of the fortnight is a book that I listened to. Big surprise.
Are we still on Sexy Scots, or have you moved on?
No, this was one that I had put a hold on like months ago, and it's kind of popular at the library, so it took like weeks and weeks and weeks for it to come through, and it came through the week we came back on our trip, and so I've been listening to it for about the last week. I think I finished it last week, and I really liked it. It's called Back in the Burbs. It's by Tracy, Wolff, and Avery, Flynn, and it's kind of like one of those like girl books, I guess. It's got
a girl
like,
book. Oh, what's a girl book?
I don't know, like your classic romantic comedy kind of book.
Okay.
Where the title, like the cover, is like one bright color, and there's usually like pink on it, and it's like scripty font. You know.
Oh, I absolutely know. But
I'm just trying to describe it to you.
I was trying to share with the world.
Absolutely. But I really like it, and I just, when I was pulling up some information on it for this, I just found out that there's a second one coming out, so I'm very happy about that. But this book, Back in the Burbs, is about a woman who is going through a divorce, who in that divorce has lost her job, her home, and most of her friends and life, and is kind of struggling to figure out what's next. She's 35 years old, and she has kind of nothing left in New York City, and then her favorite great aunt dies, and her great aunt leaves her this house in the suburbs. And being a New York City girl, she's never wanted to live in the suburbs, but she goes and she has to fix it up and clean it up because she discovers that her great aunt was a bit of a hoarder, and is just like finding herself through all of this stuff that she's finding in her great aunt's house. And she realizes that her great aunt left her the house so that she could find herself again. And so there's some romance, there's some new female friends, you get kind of a mystery in the middle of it, and then you get kind of a really nice redemption arc. So I really enjoyed it. It kind of felt like reading like a friend's like Facebook update. That sounds very old and boring. But like,
I was going to say, that makes it sound not so good.
No, you get like a little update every so often about her, and like it just felt like you were reading a friend's kind of updates. And I don't know, it just like, it had a nice warm fuzzy feeling while I was listening to it, and I really enjoyed it. So yeah, that's my thing.
This is the first time you read this book.
Yes.
There was another book that you talked about on this where it was someone's family member had died, and then they go to the house and they start going through the things, and they learn so much about their grandmother, but also themselves, and self-discovery along with... So it reminded me of that, but this is a different book.
This is a different book.
Okay.
This one came out, I guess it came out in 2021, but I just came across it on like a list. I think it might have been in someone's like Instagram story or something, and sometimes I'll go and like put a hold on something when it comes up, and then I forget about it, so I don't even really remember when I put the hold on this. But it was a nice, light, fun book that was kind of a nice little escape.
What is the protagonist's name?
Her name's Mallory, and you get some fun other characters as well. But Mallory, it's a lot of like inner dialogue in first person, so it feels a little bit more diary-ish.
Sure.
Which I think I kind of like that style. So
I do a lot of the time as well.
Yeah, it was just kind of nice, and you're not switching between like narrators.
That I feel like has crippled the publishing industry of the last 10 years. Multiple narrators per book.
Yeah.
Every book is like that now. I don't get why. It's easier, I guess.
Yeah.
It would be easier to write that way, but it can work, but I feel like it's a crutch a lot of the time.
Yeah, and like fully produced audiobooks are kind of the thing now, where you have like a cast and you have music. I returned a book because there was music in the background.
Oh, just throughout?
Yeah.
Oh, that's annoying.
I thought, because like sometimes there'll be like
for the introduction,
and sometimes there's like a little theme, like, or like mood
much
music
like
to
this
go with
podcast.
it. Yeah.
It fades out after 20 seconds.
But I listened to about 20 minutes of it, and I was like, I can't do it.
Yeah.
Because it was like music, and it was like the same music for the first 20 minutes, and I was like, I don't foresee this getting any better. And I did skip ahead a little bit, and I was like, nope, still there. And I returned it to the library because I was like, I can't do this.
Yeah, that kind of sounds annoying. Mm-hmm. Unlike your thing of the fortnight, which was called From the Burbs.
Back in the Burbs.
Back in the Burbs.
By Tracy, Wolff, and Avery, Flynn.
Oh, but two writers.
Yes. Which is really interesting because I did look them up, and one writes this kind of book, and the other one, it seemed like she wrote like nonfiction. So I was like, they must be friends or something. I don't know. It didn't seem like their books really went together. But I don't really know enough about them to make that judgment.
That's always interesting to me because the idea of writing a novel with someone seems very
terrible.
Odd.
Yeah.
But it's so common now.
Yeah, there's so many books that I've read that have two people. And I always assume it's like one person wrote it and then the other person came in and like filled in the holes.
I don't know. The only ones I know about are there's some of those really big authors where someone else writes it and then they just come and put their name on it, essentially. Is
that ghostwriting?
No. Well, there's that. But then like what James Patterson often does is like it's always James Patterson with someone. I think he probably reads it and does something, but I don't think he's sitting down with I don't think he's met all those people he apparently has
doesn't
written books
edit.
with.
And then it's his book then. Yeah. Well, Indy, what are we doing next week?
Oh yeah, for our big watch, we're getting back into movies.
Woohoo!
And way back when, I don't even remember what it was. Oh, I gave you the option of, do you want something older and English or something newer and not English? And much to my surprise, you picked Hero. And the other movie I had behind my back that day was the older in English movie. So we're just going to do that.
Excellent.
I think I've gotten to the point again. It happens every now and then in our show where I'm just like, how about this movie? Whatever.
That's kind of how I feel right now because I was like thinking about it and I couldn't remember if it was your turn or my turn. And I was like, I don't know any movies.
I used to really put thought in and it was like everything was going to lead into something else. And you do that for a while. But right now I was like, hey, we haven't done Hitchcock in a while. Let's watch The Birds.
Yeah.
So we are watching The Burbs.
Okay.
Directed by Alfred Hitchcock. It is in my top 5 Hitchcock movies. That doesn't sound like a real big sell, but Hitchcock's pretty good.
I like Hitchcock.
I should do my favorite. That would make more sense.
What's your favorite?
Vertigo.
Oh,
Vertigo is fantastic. it's so much better than this, but we're doing the Birds.
Well, with a sales pitch like that, I can't wait.
But like bad Hitchcock, still pretty
Yeah,
good.
it's still Hitchcock.
So you've seen one Hitchcock movie now. We did Psycho a while ago.
Is Bates Motel Hitchcock?
I'm not entirely sure what that is. Isn't that like a WB TV show or something?
Oh, no, you're right. Yeah. But it's like based on...
Yeah, it's like based on Psycho.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's not...
It's inspired by...
Sure, yeah. They share a motel.
Yes.
But I don't know if I would consider Bates Motel Hitchcock. 'Cause I've never seen it, though. So. Have you?
Yeah.
Is it good?
Yeah.
Okay.
I enjoyed... I think it's one of those ones that had too many episodes for the like content.
Sure.
And then it got like too weird and like kind of convoluted. Like if it had been like 6 episodes, it would have been perfect.
It's a prequel to Psycho?
Yeah.
I think I just don't want any more of those. Mm-hmm. The last time I was intrigued was in like 1999 when it was like, hey, what about Darth Vader? But he's just a little kid.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I'm interested. And you know what? It didn't work out well.
No.
And consistently, every time where it's like, hey, you know this evil queen from whatever cartoon? What made her evil?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't care much anymore.
don't.
I used to.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good premise of like, yeah, how did they get like that? And then you watch it and you're like, oh, okay, well... That usually just undoes what you told me in the other movies, but whatever.
Yeah, there's a lot of like continuity errors in prequels. So
it's just everything has to be IP. It just has to be something that already exists. Just tell me that story without linking it to this other movie.
You know what
It'll
story
probably
you
be so
can
much
tell
better.
me? Birds.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We're talking about the Birds. So the Birds came out in 1963. I guess it's a horror movie. It's horror adjacent, at least. It stars Jessica Tandy, Rod Taylor, Suzanne Plachette, and I think this may have been the debut of the very talented Tippi Hedren.
That's
who
a
is the
good
lead.
name.
Tippi Hedren, that is a very good name. I think her name is like Natalie. I don't know why.
Tippi.
Where Tippi came from.
It's probably like one of those rich white people names.
Yeah.
Like Trip and...
Tippi.
Yeah.
I was going to say, like, well, maybe she was just on boats a lot and she wasn't good at it. She's always just tipping over. Maybe she was a drunk.
Maybe, yeah. And she just teetered around on her high heels and was very tippy.
Do you know the premise of this? Because I feel like this is one of those movies that's kind of bigger than itself.
There's birds.
Uh-huh.
And that's it.
What do the birds do?
They attack people?
There you go. That's
Murder
the premise of
birds.
this movie.
Murder birds.
Well, I don't know if they... Yeah, we'll say that.
Okay. Assault birds.
Sure. And it's just that. There you go. That's
Okay.
the movie.
Well then.
And you're like, how can that be a good 2-hour movie? That is what we will find out.
Right.
So I remember liking this movie very much. I haven't seen it in, a good 20 years or so. I kind of watched it when I was in my late teens or early 20s and just was watching all of Hitchcock. So I'm like, hey, this guy's real good. I'm going to watch his movies. And I watched it. Then it didn't grab me like Psycho and Vertigo. And why am I downplaying this movie? But it's very good. And I think the simplicity of it and what you can do with something so seemingly simple is a lot of fun. So it is a good film class kind of movie for reasons we'll talk about soon. But I think it's fun to watch one now where it's less like psychoanalysis like we were doing in so many of those Wong Kar-wai movies.
Oh, yeah.
And it can be more about like the formal stuff because that's what Hitchcock was great at. Suspense, tension, and the formal film language he is very good at. So I assume all of that is going to be very present in this movie. So we are going to watch The Birds. I think it is available to stream on Amazon, but all of those other places you can rent it and also go to your public library. If they don't have a copy of The Birds, you should be like, hey, library, why don't you have a copy of The Birds?
Or one of the free streaming services that come with the library, I'm sure, have a copy of The Birds on it.
Like there's Canopy and Hoopla are the ones we use often. And since it's kind of one of those older classics, it's pretty common in a lot of streaming places, especially on the free ones.
Yeah.
So go watch The Birds. It is 2 hours, and that used to be like, whoa, that's a long movie. But if you've been to a movie in the last 4 years, you'll be like, oh, that's just going to breeze right by.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Usually movies are like 2.5 hours now.
Well, I'm not going to talk anymore. This has been a rambly episode, but we'll get back focused next week when we talk all about The Birds.
Bye, everyone.
Goodbye.